The road stretched endlessly under the fading orange sky, its silence broken only by the occasional whisper of wind through the fields. The old car coughed one last time before dying completely, its headlights flickering into darkness. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, the weight of exhaustion pressing on my chest. My son, Aiden, sat beside me, staring out the window with his earbuds in, his face illuminated by the cold glow of his phone screen. I tried the ignition again, nothing but a hollow click. The realization hit me, we were stranded in the middle of nowhere. The nearest town was miles away, and the cell signal flickered in and out like a fading heartbeat. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was heavy, almost too familiar. It wasn't just the car that had broken down, it was us, too. Ever since his father left 2 years ago, conversations had turned into small, polite exchanges that barely scratched the surface. He had grown taller, quieter, and more distant, while I had buried myself in work, pretending that the routine would fix everything. Now, sitting in that stillness, I could almost feel the distance between us pulsing like static in the air. Aiden finally removed his earbuds and sighed. "So, what now?" he asked, his tone flat but not cold. I forced a small laugh, masking my anxiety. "We wait. Maybe someone will drive by." But the road remained empty, swallowed by shadows. I popped the hood, hoping I could somehow fix the problem, but the engine stared back at me like a puzzle missing half its pieces. Aiden got out too, hands shoved into his pockets, the cool night breeze ruffling his hair. We stood side by side, watching our breath form little clouds in the cold. When the wind picked up, we retreated inside the car. The air turned colder, and I could see Aiden rubbing his arms for warmth. I reached to turn on the heater before remembering that nothing worked anymore. I handed him my coat. He hesitated before taking it, mumbling a quiet, "Thanks." That single word felt like an olive branch, small, fragile, but real. The silence that followed wasn't angry this time, it was tired, like two people learning how to exist in the same space again. The night deepened, stars scattered across the sky like spilled salt. The hum of crickets filled the background as we sat there in the dim light of the dashboard. I wanted to say something, to apologize, to explain, but my throat tightened. Instead, I just glanced at him, noticing the faint shadows under his eyes, the weariness that didn't belong on a boy his age. Somewhere between the hum of the night and the stillness of the road, I realized how much I didn't know about his world anymore. It was as if this broken-down car had trapped us not just in place, but in a moment we had both been avoiding for far too long. The cold crept in deeper, wrapping itself around us like an invisible fog. Aiden leaned his head back against the seat, his gaze fixed on the dark horizon beyond the windshield. I watched him quietly, noticing how much older he suddenly looked in that dim light. The silence had stretched for so long that when he finally spoke, his voice startled me. "You know," he began softly, "I used to love when we went on drives like this. Back when Dad was still around." His tone was steady, but there was something fragile in it, something that made my chest tighten. I didn't know how to respond, so I just listened. "It felt different then," he continued, eyes unfocused. "You'd laugh more. We'd sing along to songs you hated. It didn't matter if we got lost somewhere because it felt like we were all together." His words landed with quiet force, like stones sinking into still water. I turned my face away, afraid he might see the guilt written there. I wanted to tell him that I missed those moments too, that I had tried to hold on to them even when everything fell apart. But the truth was, somewhere between surviving and pretending, I had lost that part of myself, the one who used to laugh freely, who used to notice the small things. Aiden glanced at me then, and I caught the flicker of something in his eyes, not anger, but disappointment, maybe even longing. "You don't talk much anymore," he said softly. "It's like you're here but not really here." The words stung because they were true. I swallowed hard, my voice catching when I finally spoke. I thought I was doing the right thing, I said, staring at my hands. Keeping everything together, working more, making sure we didn't lose the house. I thought if I stayed strong, you'd be okay. Aiden let out a shaky laugh, not mocking, but sad. Mom, I don't need you to be strong all the time. I just need you to be, you. His voice broke slightly on the last word. Something in that moment cracked open inside me. The walls I'd built, the silence I'd hidden behind, it all started to crumble. I reached out and took his hand. He didn't pull away. His palm was cold, but the weight of it in mine felt grounding, real. For a long time, we just sat there like that, hands clasped in the dark, the world outside our car fading into nothing. The headlights of a distant vehicle briefly illuminated the road ahead, painting our faces in pale gold before disappearing again. It was such a small thing, that fleeting light, but it made the air inside the car feel a little less heavy. Aiden shifted closer, his shoulder brushing mine. You know, he whispered, I don't even care that we're stuck. It's kinda nice to just stop. His words were simple, but they carried a truth I hadn't realized until then, that maybe this breakdown wasn't an accident at all. Maybe the universe had forced us to stop running so we could finally hear each other again. The night settled deeper around us, and the world outside turned utterly still. The stars looked close enough to touch, scattered across the ink-black sky like tiny fires burning quietly in the distance. The hum of insects became the only sound, soft and rhythmic, like a lullaby for the restless. Aiden had fallen quiet again, his face calm but thoughtful, as though something inside him had finally eased. I watched the reflection of those stars dance across the windshield and felt a strange sense of peace take hold, fragile but real. After a while, he spoke again, his voice quieter than before. Do you ever think about what would have happened if Dad hadn't left? The question lingered in the air, heavy but not bitter. I breathed in slowly, the answer tangled in memories I'd spent years trying to forget. Every day, I admitted, my voice trembling just slightly. But then I think maybe things had to happen this way. Maybe we had to fall apart to see what we were holding on to. He nodded slowly, eyes still fixed on the horizon. I used to think he left because of me, he said, almost in a whisper. I thought if I had been better, louder, funnier, maybe he would have stayed. My heart clenched. I turned toward him, reaching out instinctively to cup his face in my hands. Aiden, I said firmly, none of this was ever your fault. Adults make choices that kids shouldn't have to carry. He left because he couldn't stay, not because you weren't enough. His lips quivered, and for the first time in years, I saw the little boy he used to be, the one who would crawl into my lap after a nightmare, the one who still believed I could make the world safe. Tears welled in his eyes, glinting faintly under the starlight, and he whispered, I just miss how we used to be. I pulled him into my arms, holding him tightly, feeling his heartbeat thump against mine. For so long, I had mistaken silence for strength, but this vulnerability, felt like the truest form of it. Minutes passed like hours as we sat there, breathing in sync, the night wrapping around us like a blanket. The air outside grew colder, but inside that old car, warmth began to stir between us, not from the heater, but from something deeper, something we'd both been missing. I brushed a strand of hair from his forehead and said softly, maybe we can start over, you and me. No pretending, no running. A faint smile touched his lips, small but genuine. Yeah, he murmured. I'd like that. Far in the distance, headlights appeared again, growing brighter until they lit up the road ahead. A truck slowed beside us, the driver rolling down his window to ask if we needed help. I nodded, thanking him, but before stepping out, I looked at Aiden one last time. He met my gaze and smiled, really smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. As we climbed out into the night, the road no longer felt lonely. The car might have failed us, but somehow, that broken night had mended something far more important.